The first one is that I've based these games on adding and subtracting number bonds to 10, but all of these games can be adjusted. You can adjust them to number bonds to 20, you can adjust them to addition or subtraction to or from 25, you could choose a random number like 13 or 50, they can all be adjusted. The other thing I wanted to mention is that all of these games provide a really good opportunity to practice with the child the language that's associated with all of these operations. So instead of saying adding all the time, we could say, what is this more than this? Or you could use the word increase. It doesn't always have to be add. With subtract, you could use take away or minus, less than, decrease. There are loads of different words that you can use that the child will encounter at school, and it's a really nice way to practice it in a fun game. Okay, so the first card game I want to show you is called On Your Forehead. All I've done is take some cards, and I've selected already the cards 1 to 10. They're all random, and I'm just going to turn them over so I can't see them. And I'm going to take the top cards and I'm going to put it on my forehead. Okay, now I can see what number it is, but when I'm playing with a child, I won't see what number it is. And the child has to tell me what the number is in a number sentence. So instead of just telling me the number is 7, I might ask them to tell me an addition sum. So then I have to say, oh, it's 5 plus 2. And then I can either answer correctly or incorrectly and have another go. Or I might say, you know what, give me a subtraction sum this time, please. So they might say, oh, I know, it's 10 minus 3. And then I'll get it right. I could, excuse me, I could ask them to write 3 different sums or 4 different sums on a whiteboard, all with this one as the answer. So I could say, okay, let's do an addition, let's do a subtraction and a multiplication and a division. You can adjust it to the needs of the child. And then the child will take their turn. They can choose another number from the top, and then you give them some sums to tell you the answer. So that was the first game, On Your Forehead. Then my next game also uses these 10 cards, the same ones, and it's called Count and Move. Okay, so sometimes you might find that the child you're working with gets a bit jittery and needs to move a little bit. So, and which is normal, and that's fine. And this game sort of encourages that. It gives a bit of a break. So with this game, you and your partner will come up with some activities, some actions like clapping or blinking or star jumps, whatever's sort of suitable for that child and the space you're in. And then you choose a card and they have to do that action, or you have to do that action, or both of you have to do the action, however you're playing it, this many number of times. Now, to make it harder or more complicated, you could say, well, instead of doing it 1 time, hold on, what plus 1 makes 10? Let's use number bonds to 10. So which number plus 1 makes 10? That's 9. Okay, so let's do the action 9 times. If it was blinking, let's blink 9 times, whatever it might be. Okay. You might say, okay, this time it's clapping and we're going to do number bonds to 20. So here's the card. It's number 7 again. Well, let's do clapping this time. How many times? Well, let's see. We know that 7 plus 3 makes 10. And from 10 to 20 is 10. So we've got 10 and 3, that's 13. We're going to clap 13 times. Okay, you can do it any way you want, with subtraction, with any number bonds, just to get a bit of movement into the lesson. Okay, my next game, I've got 20 cards. I have selected them beforehand. I'm going to put them on the table. I know it's not ideal, but maybe you'll be able to see some of what I'm showing you. I'm just putting them out in rows of 5. I've got 4 rows of 5. You can do this with 20 cards. You could do it with 40 cards. You could have 20 and the student could have 20. You could do 40 cards all together. You could play together however you want. But this game is called Race to 10. And what you have to do, you can model it first, you could play it together, or the student does it by themselves, is to find numbers that add up to 10. So here I've got an 8 and a 2 that make 10. So I'm just going to clear them off the board to the side. And the aim of the game is to get rid of as many cards as possible from the board. You can encourage them to use their number bonds to 10 and just use 2 cards like 7 and 3 and take them off. Or if there's an option,
you could have them use 3 cards, so extend it a little bit. Here's a 6 and a 2 and a 2. So here we've got 3 cards making 10. So really, like I said, the aim is just to make as many number bonds to 10, and then those cards can come off the board, and you want to see at the end how many cards you have left, and see who you could see who did it in the fewest moves, or who has the fewest cards left, or who got rid of all their cards. Okay, so that one was called Race to 10. How many number bonds to 10 can you make, and how many cards can you get rid of? Now for the next game, I'm using the same cards, and I'm just going to turn them over because this is a game of pairs. Now, normally in pairs, when we play it, we look for numbers that are the same. This time, I'm going to look for numbers that add up to 10. And you would prepare the cards beforehand to make sure you had the right numbers that add up to 10. Or you could even have your student prepare those cards. You could give them the pack of cards and take out all the face cards and the number 10s. And then you could have them find all the number bonds to 10, turn them over, mix them up and place them down, and then you can play pairs together. So you're just going to take it in turns with the student to turn over 2 cards at a time and see if they make 10. This is 8 and 4, which don't add up to 10. So I'm going to turn them back over and try and remember that I have an 8 and a 4 here. When it's the next person's turn, they'll also turn over 2 cards and try and make 10. So this one here is a 6, and I remember that there's a 4 next door, so then I've got my pair. And I can have another turn if I make a pair that adds up to 10. Again, you could make it adding up to 20. You can adjust it whichever way you want. And the final game I wanted to show you doesn't actually involve the cards. So I'm going to push them out of the way. I've just got a bowl, and I've got some toys of my children. They're just these little screws, and I took 20 of them. You could take 15, you could take 10 of the same thing, whatever you want. I could start with 10, I could start with half of these, and then add in more if I feel the child's comfortable enough. I've called this one Hidden Pieces, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my child, the child I'm working with, to look away. While they're looking away, I'm going to hide some of the pieces under the bowl so they don't know how many are there. And outside the bowl, I've left them. I've left a few. So when I've done that, I'm going to ask the child to come and have a look. And they have got to find out how many screws are under the bowl without looking and without counting them. So they're going to count how many screws are outside of the bowl and use that information to tell them how many are in the bowl. So hopefully they'll be able to count. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So hopefully this will help them practice their addition skills, to know that if you have 9 on the outside, that you could jump to 10, because 10s are our friends. So you could say, well, 9 plus 1 is 10. And then from 10 to 20 is another 10. So the 1 and the 10 make 11. So there must be 11 on the inside. And then you could lift it up and have them count and check it. And then you can let them hide some while you turn away. And then you can model to them how you would do it and how you would find out how many are under the bowl. And like someone mentioned before, you could make a mistake and see if they catch it, and show them that everyone makes mistakes and it's fine, and those things are all normal. So those are my games. I hope I didn't run through them too quickly, and I hope you will find them helpful.